What's up? Once again, hello everyone. I am back with a little bit of my NBA thoughts, analysis, thoughts, analysis, yeah, analysis. Anyway, so you gotta love these weekends, of where there's like a full slate of games. It's like you just got nothing else to do for like the rest of the day but just peep in the games. It's just it's just gonna be. I already hate it when it's gonna be just like two games and then it's just gonna be one. And while yes, it should ramp up, obviously the playoff play, but it's gonna be a sad day. But anyway, until them sad days hit, we're here to go ahead and just look at what we had today. Shout out to the Nets for hanging on from them victories that they got from at the beginning till now. But I was like, where the janitor at? Because as we all thought, I was like, this thing is swept, a sweep, a swoop. They're gone. Which I mean, I was like, that's why I feel like Embiid not playing and like wasn't that big of a factor. And plus, at this point, you already knew what it sort of was. Like even if they won today, I feel like you're still like, yeah, but we're so much in the driver's seat that and not a big a deal. So go ahead, get Embiid his rest. That way let him go ahead, heal up, let him get ready for the next series. You know, hopefully you'll be over here looking out. That's like, oh, okay, cool. Let the Celtics lose a couple more or something like that. But it is what we thought it was going to be. It was a makeshift team at this point. They would have going to hold on to anything with the Sixers. They tried, but in the end, it wasn't going to happen. So anyway, moving on. I was like, not the Lakers. Whew, no. The Clippers. I was like the Clippers and Phoenix. And by God, if they had Kawhi, and I was like, or Paul George, one of the two, this will look like a totally different series. This is it's like one of them things that's like it's one of them things that's like, it's very unfortunate. And also it's sort of dope and cool to see how hard the Clippers are playing. They're playing with such tenacity, and of course, Russell is the key of all this. But and I like this is sort of like peak Russell, where Russell, when he has like no like certain, I guess, stars, he can always will your team to just getting right there. And the thing is, they were just right there. It's basically how far can hustle and effort and playing hard can get you. And the thing is when you're playing against people like Booker and Durant and CB3, it'll get you just right there, but not enough to take it over. And that's where we see, and especially in the playoffs, having that dude, that guy, the man's him, is very key in all these situations. Because Russell played, once again, a great game. And it just isn't enough because his output can negate one of their dudes. You needed, if Powell would have been able to go off again in the same way, I think I was like, this would have been the game that they pulled out. But then again, like last game, it might have been just not enough. But the thing is this time you also had Man coming in with a barrage of threes that was able to combine with everybody else in a way that would have probably been able to squeak out just enough of a win in this game. This is probably why, if Kawhi would have been healthy, I would have been like, oh, they can beat Phoenix, because you see that ensemble of players, and no matter if they go big, whether they got Zubac and Plumlee in there, who played a really good game, I'll give it up to Plumlee. or they go small, where and they playing them Morris a bit. Covington got some run in this one, um, and so where you can go small, big, or their nano ball version. Uh, that's why you just had one of those dudes. They Phoenix wouldn't happen. Phoenix wouldn't be able to get through, especially because even like I still feel like Durant hadn't really imposed himself in this series the way that Booker has. Because Booker had been doing this series has been a lot of on my back. We got this, and Chris Paul. Oh, I was like, look. Sometimes he looks like, yo, I'm tired. I mean, I'm 38. I'm old. And then just when you think so, he'll hit a bucket. And this game, sort of like game two, I was like, he came up with his crazy end of the game sealing buckets. And that's sort of what it was at this point. And you don't have consistent dudes of the Clippers to take their role players ain't they're really good, but a lot of them where you got Bones and like Man, and even though they have been in playoffs and stuff like that, they're still like young in a way where you need them to ride up to that, and they just can't fully, like especially like down the stretch. Gordon, who I was like, it's sort of weird because at this point I sort of feel like with Gordon, Powell was also in foul trouble, and I feel like that also, I will say that also what sort of uh, hindered some of that. But Gordon just, I was like, I don't know, maybe it's just me. Maybe at some of the times I was like, I'm not seeing Gordon and what all he's able to do, but he's not what you remember from when he was like when it was Harden and the Rockets, and I feel like he's another dude that can create and move and get to the bucket and also shoot. That I feel like he's what you sort of would have needed to match Westbrook on the other end and Powell of them able to driving and getting to the basket while also being a deep threat. And because all the other ones yes they can drive, but they're not necessarily getting to the basket at that same rate as what they're capable to do. But yeah, this is just one of them games where just like I think maybe they could still. Cause I was gonna say this is probably the one that I felt like they probably should have been able to squeak out, and I think right now the Phoenix sort of senses that we're gonna get this over with while we can and put them out. But if you're Phoenix, I will say that you shouldn't feel as great as you do. You should feel considerably lucky that they don't have their two dudes along, and also y'all haven't, even though like Booker's been playing incredible, Durant's been solid. Paul, I guess it depends on what you expect out of him, but the fact that you have basically this team of Clippers and you can't put them away at all, and then your matchup is going to be Denver, who sort of has this sort of ensemble. Now the thing is, they don't. To me, I was like, it's going to be a good matchup because of the amount of people that they got. And the thing is that what happens when you have Durant and Booker, who can go off at any moment, versus Murray and Porter, who can also go off. And if they're going to be washed to a mulligan, Jokic is going to eat up Aiden. It's one of the things where you see how they're playing right now, and you're just thinking like you're going to have to come out with a lot more if you're going to want to beat the Nuggets team, because they got their top dudes that can score point for point. They got but you also got the MVP, and it's like, do you have enough to also negate their role players and their cast? That's gonna be a thing. So I wouldn't feel as optimistic of like, yeah, you're winning this series against the Clipper, but you're winning this series against who? And the fact that they're matching y'all. too. And yeah. So anyway, we're gonna give that what it is. Um, the Heat and the Bucks. This was I was like, one, you got the Butler game that we've been like waiting the world where he just like, nah, we're this what I'm gonna do, especially Daniel Giannis. Um, and basically the Bucks squad role, I was like, I guess you can't really say Drew Holiday and Middleton as role players, but they didn't give you the output needed collectively in order that they would need to negate not having Giannis. But on the other side, Miami and their collection of people did do exactly what they needed to do to negate not having Hero, who is like a dude that could give you 20 and more points in a game. You had Kyle Lowry playing a really good and solid game. You had Martin playing a good and solid game. Oladipo was giving you really good defense, and Adebayo, I was like playing up to like his like not fully to his standard, but to his standards. And Duncan Robinson hitting all of y'all with his barrage of threes. And that's really what really told the game for him is basically the guys who wasn't scoring. That's really all it is. And Eric Spoelstra doing his thing of of really matching up and playing well with what he has. That's like you got Oladipo and you got Mbayo and you got Martin and you got Butler and you got Lowry and but putting Duncan in where he's surrounded by defensive dudes that play hard and like not just play hard but can actually play defense and is athletic and able to spread out, especially when the Bucks only got really Middleton and Holiday that could really create their own shot. Because everybody else is standstill shooters. So when you have that, Duncan can hide a lot better to where it's like he can like he'll try. That's the thing is Duncan will try. He's just not good and he bites a lot. But when you playing with that matchup, it works because they could cover all his deficiencies. And then if he's able to hit threes, then he's worth staying out on the court, along with everybody else who can also play offense and make shots as well too. So this game was the perfect storm of what you can get with Eric Spoelstra, a Butler game, and everyone hitting their shots, and nobody on the Bucks being able to do the same. So you was able to play. So there was a key game, and if they could keep playing like this, they will knock the Bucks out without Giannis. I already thought with Hero that, but also if they had Giannis, it was already probably going to be a really tough series anyway, just because Butler can match on Giannis's end. I just thought that once the supporting cast was going to outdo the others, but when it's just a supporting cast and they still pretty much got their dudes in Butler and Bam, then it looked like it might be a lot more difficult for the Bucks. At this rate, I will say that probably going to go to a game 6, possibly a game 7, just because the Bucks ain't going to back down and go out like no punks. So, but the Heat also play like that too. So, this is pretty much just seem like one of those things where they just going to be a lot of like grinding up against each other and tiring each other out, and it's going to go to length and the distance or whatever. But you also got Butler. And that boy can change all of that by just having one of his games where he's just like, nah, we already done won a couple. Now let's go ahead and put them out. We're not even gonna do this. So we're gonna see how that fully goes right there with that one. Yeah. But now Lakers and Grizzlies. The Lakers and Grizzlies was a really, really good game. That first quarter, they just came out swinging haymakers. They finally got D'Lo going, who I think is really the key to the Lakers team, just because he has the ability to have bursts like this, sort of slow down in the rest of the game, because he's a little streaky. But, I was like, he came out, and LeBron came out, and then after that, there was just like a wave and momentum. Ja was still trying to, piece together his
his amount of things of like getting back into the flow or whatnot and everything, and with that hand or whatnot. But it didn't stop his intensity, which is probably the better and the more optimistic thing that you can find out is that, oh, okay, cool. His hand isn't going to scare him from still going to the basket and trying to shoot. And at times during the game, you could see that his hand wasn't fully there. I was like, I forgot who he was trying to dunk on, but I was like, but I think it was I was like, I think Vanderbilt came in like right behind him, something like that. But you could see like it wasn't palmed. He just had to do like that little like gripping the ball thing with your forearm thing. Um, but yeah, this game was way closer than I would have thought. I was like, there was a part of me where I was like, since it was first quarter, I was like, there's no way that this game is gonna be this much of a blowout. I was like, they're up by 30 at times, and I'm like, nah, they'll come back. I was like, but I never thought they would get it to the point where it was, uh, where you had to keep sort of watching the game. Because I was thinking, I was like, okay, cool. If they could ride this momentum and keep it going, I was like, okay, cool. After a while, you sit AD, you sit LeBron, get them extra rest, let the other dudes sort of take over. But then after a while, it's like, great, okay. And I was like, okay, you got to keep them in the game, keep the flow going. And then also on top of that, make sure that y'all keep the lead. Um, but uh, the rest of the team on the Lakers came and played. Like Rui is still keeping up his momentum. He didn't have his 20 that he'd been having, but he's still been able to be much of a threat. Like I said, you got something from D'Lo, so that's still really good. AD and LeBron, they the stars of the team, so they play like stars. Um, and Memphis really is it's crazy that they really had to be on the back of Morant in this game, considering that your star player is hurt, injured, whatever, and he's the one that has to keep the whole thing going because it's like it's I guess maybe they took so much out of him in the last game to have all their other players basically be at the top of their game in order to but I was like but also you playing from behind for so long, you only can do so much and have so much momentum that that I'm like your bench unit, your starting unit, they got tired from last game. So in this game, they're also trying, but at the same time, you're so far behind that they're gonna get exhausted. And I was like, now at this point, it might just. I was like, I still think Memphis will still get a game, um, but I do think that the Lakers should go and try to end this faster. But of course, you don't know if you're going to get this from D Russ again or not like that. So but I was like, but you LeBron going to stay about this consistent and AD. Uh, I feel like we'll also stay this where he will oppose his will as well. Um, and Rui and Reeves have been already giving you this mixture of points as well too. So for the most part, I was like the Lakers are fine. Obviously, uh, I think Memphis will be fine as well too because Josh still gonna give you the same performance. Bane is always he's a scoring dude, so he's always there. And Jackson, I feel like will play probably maybe more like game two. And everybody else sort of just get in where they fit in. Um, because everybody else after that really, Brooks really just more. He's funny enough like the Draymond Green of their team, so don't expect crazy points from him. Which is crazy because I was like when he was at Oregon, I felt like he was a better scorer than he is in the NBA, which is odd. But anyway, so that's the end of that. Looking forward to the next set of games. But anyway, if you like anything that I'm saying here, I appreciate it. Cool, thanks. And if not, hey, maybe there's next time. But hey, until then, this was my little thing, and I appreciate it. Peace out. Deuces.